Okay. The following meeting is the 675th Arizona Racing Commission meeting held at 1110 West Washington, Suite 250, Phoenix, Arizona 85007. The time is regular.
All right,
You
good
ready?
morning.
Go ahead.
The door closed. Can everybody hear me? All right. At this point in time, I'd like to call to order the 675th regular Arizona Racing Commission meeting of November 14th, 2019. Madam Secretary, please call roll.
Thank you. The time is 10 a.m. Commissioner Coolidge.
Here.
Telephone, Commissioner Garay.
Here.
Commissioner Lawless.
Here.
Telephone, and Commissioner McClintock.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum. And as a public service, please silence or turn all cell phones off. If you must take a call, please be courteous to those around you and take the conversation out into the hallway. Thank you.
All right, the first item is Executive Session B for the Monarch Content Management LLC versus the Arizona Department of Gaming.
Mr. Irvine had indicated that if he'd heard anything from the courts, then he would be here to do that. Otherwise, you can just
Yeah,
take no
I figured
action.
it still. We're just waiting on the judge to report back on that.
Yes, sir.
All right, so the next item is C, hearing before the Commission, Appeal of Director's Order, Appellant Robert Lucas, case number 19A-020-DOR. And this is the time set for consideration of the Director's Order in case number 19A-020-DOR. Robert Lucas's appeal to the Arizona Racing Commission of the Director's ruling to transfer the horse John Harrell to claimant Robert Lucas, as the House rules enacted by Turf Paradise Racecourse does not supersede the state of Arizona's administrative code. Are the parties present?
The state district.
I'm the horse owner with the trainer, Kevin Ackerberry. He can be gotten up by phone if needed.
But this is, Mr. Lucas had filed the appeal. Is Mr. Lucas here?
I don't see him here. Even though this is scheduled for 10 a.m., if you want to give him additional time
Would that be
to
okay
be
with the
here,
state?
you can.
All right, we will move this item to a little later now. I'm going to shut this thing off. That'll teach him to call me. All right. Next item is D, action items, approval of the 2020 Arizona Racing Commission meeting dates. Was there any discussion needed on that? I know it was in our packet for next year, the dates. There's no discussion on those dates. It's pretty standard for the dates that are selected for the Racing Commission. So at this point in time, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Madam Secretary?
Thank you. Commissioner Coolidge,
Yes.
Commissioner Garay,
Yes.
Commissioner Lawless,
Yeah.
Commissioner McClintock.
Yes.
Okay, so the 2020 Arizona Racing Commission meeting dates have been approved as for the second Thursday of the month. These dates will be posted on the racing calendar on the website, as well as available for anybody that would like it in PDF format.
And just as a courtesy for everyone, I know later on today there's the Arizona Breeders Association is having a sale. I had a couple of people say, what great planning, trying to have that on the same day as a commission meeting. So maybe for next year, kind of take things like the commission meeting into consideration when planning those type of events. All right, the next item is approval of simulcast horse racing import signals. A, Turf Paradise. Number one with the Aqueduct NYRA Winter 19 through 20 simulcast. Is there any, Greg?
Yes, this is a request by Turf Paradise to show the Aqueduct signal. I've given you a simulcast analysis, and I have some current update. There's some additional information needed, specifically the Monarch, who Monarch is the sales agent for Turf Paradise, an agreement with NYRA to continue the signal past November 30th of 2019. I have an email that was done by Dave Johnson yesterday saying that currently Monarch is in negotiations with NYRA for a new agreement, and the agreement will be forwarded to the department upon receipt. So the packet that you have is for, would extend through November 30th of 2019.
All right, so should we wait then until we have that further, or just?
It's approved until November 30th.
I think that's
I move, yeah,
direction for you guys.
I move that we approve simulcast signal in Aqueduct until receipt of the letter from Monarch.
No, because we won't have another.
And, hey, Rory, unless we have a prior agreement for December, I don't see how we can review these, right?
Right.
Okay, so we're here then.
And commission members, if I may, with Aqueduct for the agreement that's running through November 30th, 2019, that agreement was signed, the amendment was signed on October 31st, 2018.
Okay. So that was done before the law went into effect, which at the last meeting or whichever meeting, we kind of determined those were not ones we were going to review at this time, so.
I believe that's my understanding of what the commission did.
Okay.
So as soon as we get the new agreement, that's something we can consider, but until that happens, I don't think there's any actionable items.
Exactly. And Leroy, you had signed up for this. Did you want to say anything?
Yes, Leroy Gussman, the Arizona HPPA and National HPPA. Commissioners, I just want to say that the horsemen, both Arizona HPPA and nationally, want to go on your record that we are not in agreement with the way you're approving these signals. We feel each race meet should be approved each time there's a meet, and the horsemen have to give their approval for each race meet, whether it was, no matter what the contract says. That's all I have, unless you have questions.
So noted. Thank you. Okay, the next item is for Turf Paradise Fairgrounds Winter Meet Simulcast.
So I'm sorry, what was the decision on this? Are we tabling it, or are we not considering it?
We're not considering it because it was signed before the law went into effect.
But that's only until November 30th.
Till November 30th. And we don't have the paperwork to consider beyond that
I
at this
just
time.
wanted that on the
Yeah.
record, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Fairgrounds Winter Meet Simulcast.
In the packet that you have an agreement between CDI and Monarch in which it's a 2014 contract that indicates there's an Exhibit A, which is in consideration of the 2014-15 dates. There is no mention in that packet of Fairgrounds 2019 meet, in which starts on November, I think, 28th or 29th of this month. So I was informed by Dave Johnson at this point in time that the terms of the agreement says that, bear with me when I read this again. And this is coming from Dave Johnson. What I can tell you about the CDI agreement is that when I inquired about that in the past, I was told that the agreement is still in effect for all CDI tracks, and they still represent Fairgrounds. As we get closer to the start of the Fairgrounds meet, which will be the end of November, CDI will send me more additional information such as the calendar showing the new race dates, wagering formats, and takeout rates if there are any changes, and approvals which will show Turf Paradise has been an approved location for receiving the signal from Fairgrounds. That's all we have right now. The only Exhibit A is referencing 2014 and 2015 race dates.
So here again, we don't have the...
May I speak real quick?
Yes.
Thank you. Dave Johnson, Assistant General Manager at Turf Paradise. One additional note to that, and this is part of the CDI agreement that I think is important to recognize. The reason that this agreement has been considered by CDI as a valid agreement, is an agreement that is still in effect, is because on page 12, chapter 16, it says under the term of the agreement, it says, in the event CDI permits guests to continue wagering on CDI content after the expiration of the term, the terms are what Greg had just referenced on Exhibit A. It says, if CDI allows guests to continue wagering on CDI content after the expiration of the term without entering into a new agreement, then the terms of and provisions of this agreement shall remain in effect. And what I can tell you is CDI has always looked at this agreement as an agreement that is in effect. When they pick up a new host track that they are going to represent, they don't give me a new Exhibit A, they give me an amendment to the new Exhibit A. So you still have Exhibit A and you have an amendment to it that will show the new track. A good example is earlier in the year, they picked up Louisiana Downs. Louisiana Downs quarter horse meet fell under the old contract, but as an amendment to that old Exhibit A. So this contract is viewed by CDI as an agreement that is in effect, even though Exhibit A has long since expired. The department has always recognized it and has approved it over the last 4 years. Every time we've requested a new track that's on there, or a renewal of those tracks. But again, I think the important thing here is where it says under term of agreement, it says in the event CDI permits guests to continue wagering on CDI content after the expiration of the term without entering into a new agreement, then the terms and provisions of this agreement shall remain in effect. And that's highlighted. If you guys got a copy of that, I believe you guys get copies of the contracts. I highlighted that in the agreement so that you can see that.
It's on page 87 of your tablet.
What is the,
Oh, there's the page number. Is there any discussion on this one?
Well,
I don't think it's an actionable item since it's a 2014 agreement.
That's kind of where I'm leaning as well.
I agree. I mean, as long as the agreement's already in effect.
Did you need anything?
I don't know.
Oh,
You asking me?
no, we'll wait for their huddle to be done.
It's up to the commission how the
Yeah.
commission wants to proceed.
Yeah, I don't see any actionable item here for us, really.
Yeah, I don't,
Again, it's a contract that was done before the law went into effect.
Okay.
All right. Is there anyone signed up for that? No. Item D3, submittals to the Arizona Racing Commission. This is me, not Greg. This kind of came about this week as some of these items were coming in late. Every one of us on the commission, we have daytime jobs. We have other things we're doing, and getting these submittals last minute is kind of getting a little out of hand. You guys know when the race meets are coming. I don't see why there should not be a reason to get this documentation to the department 2-3 weeks in advance so that they can do what they need to do and get it to us at least a week in advance so we have a weekend to go over it. So I don't know if we can create a rule mandating that, or
You can certainly ask the department to create or craft something for your review as far as procedures and timelines.
yeah. I mean, that's my opinion. I don't know about the other commissioners. How you feel?
I didn't have a problem with the way it was done before, so I don't know why all of a sudden we have to approve every single simulcast meeting being run.
That's because of the new law.
Well,
And if we're going to be getting all this documentation, I would just like to, I would like to have a weekend at least to go over it myself. And Mr. Johnson, did you have something?
Yes, I would just like to add some more to that, and I apologize. Again, David Johnson of Turf Paradise. I know that there is a huge burden that's been put on this commission by having to approve all of these new contracts. But I would hope that the commission understands that we are at the mercy of people negotiating contracts. Even Arizona Downs, this is going to hurt them too. We're trying to get contracts in place in time. Some of these contracts are negotiated at the 11th hour. And are we supposed to just not simulcast at all until we get this contract in place and have to wait for the next commission? That's going to do irreparable damage to this industry if you consider that. And it's every permittee. It's not just Turf Paradise. It's Rito, it's Arizona Downs, it's the dog tracks. We all have simulcast contracts that we have to submit. I know what the HBPA has just asked for, what Leroy has just asked for, and he said that he would like to see all these racetracks approved on a meet-by-meet basis. But look across the country and look and see what everybody else does. Nobody across the country approves contracts on a meet-to-meet basis. They approve them on an annual basis. Or they approve them for their entire meet, but they don't do it on a meet-by-meet basis. And that burden that's being put on this commission and the racetracks ourselves, it's not fair. And it's going to end up doing damage rather than good. That's just my 2 cents. Thank you.
Can I be heard on that?
Yes.
I agree on some, disagree on
Identify yourself for the
some.
record,
Okay, so
please.
Dave Author with Arizona Downs, I'm sorry. Just because of the new law says the commission shall approve, doesn't mean that the commission can't delegate that responsibility to Stiles, Greg Stiles, your enforcement manager. In the last year or so, as I understand, we have submitted on a meet-by-meet basis our package that includes HBPA's approval, the sending tracks approval, and then all that package is put together for each meet, and then it goes to Greg, and Greg or one of his designees who was a steward at the time approved that. I don't see why that has to change. But what we do disagree with, and what was the topic of something I was going to talk about later, is that we don't care about the meet-by-meet approvals, and all we do is we look at a contract back in 2018, or now I heard there's a contract we're looking at back in 2014, to see whether we approve a meet that's not going to start until a couple weeks from now. That's not the way it ought to run, and that's never been the way it ought to run. And we're now at the 675th meeting, and I don't know how many meetings we've had since OTBs have come into play and the Interstate Horse Racing Act came into play, but it's always been done the same way. A meet comes in, we scramble around, we get all the paperwork, we deliver it to division approves it, and we move on from there. Don't give up on our, and then the horsemen aren't, and you're not allowed to give up on the horsemen's approval on a meet-by-meet basis. That's what the law says. Not our law, the Interstate Horse Racing Act. So that's my 3 cents.
Yeah, I can't imagine how it would be beneficial to racing to ever turn down the opportunity to simulcast any meet, anywhere. I mean, this is where the revenue comes from. It keeps racing alive in Arizona.
The only reason to do that is if and when you choose to enforce the existing law, and that is when a simulcast is proposed at Turf Paradise or at Arizona Downs, it has to have an agreement inside that simulcast or a phone call or whatever it is that says, I will present that, I will offer that to each one of the permittees. And so long as that's done, we will never object to Turf Paradise having a particular meet, as long as it's offered to all the permittees. The problems we had for the last 2 meetings was that you were approving simulcasts based upon some contract that's a year old, that did not offer it to all the permittees as the new law required. And we think that's illegal, and we think what you did was illegal. And it sounds drastic, but that's the only way I can put it. And so that's the point I wanted to make, Commissioners, that so long as it's offered to all of us after the August 27th effective day, that we would never object to Turf getting the simulcast.
Okay.
Don't forget to sign in the...
No, I did.
Well, and for...
I think you have
Oh, this
that
one too?
there. No, if you've already signed in up here, you're fine.
Okay.
Can we bring it up?
Yeah, you're there. Okay. Well, and this item was really 3 submittals, was mainly to kind of talk about, or maybe direct the department to see if there is some guidance you can put together for, so we're not getting to last minute trying to review these things right before commission meeting, especially when you may have a hearing also that you're needing to prepare for. Like I said again, every one of us has real-time jobs, and we're having to do this in the evenings. And like myself, I spend a lot of the weekend going over this, and we'd just like to have advanced time to really put the effort we need to into considering each thing that we're required to consider.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, this is Rudy Casillas, Director. From this point forward, we will ask the permittees to submit at least within 2 weeks of the commission meeting all contracts that they expect approvals for. And if they are not in, or if they are in and incomplete, they will not be put on the agenda. If we have to call for a special meeting to get approvals, we'll do that. I'd like to remind the commission that 5112T and U was a result of Arizona's down petitioning the legislature for this new law. Now Mr. Author is up here trying to flex and bend this new law, which I disagree with, and as commission members you have an obligation to follow the law. So I agree with you that these contracts must be submitted timely for review, and we will hold them accountable to submit them timely, and if they're not done, they will not be placed on the agenda. And regarding Mr. Johnson's comments, the simulcast providers also have an obligation. If they want to make money, they're going to submit those contracts timely. So I disagree with his comments that it's across the nation. That way people are going to have to make adjustments to these new laws. That's all there is to it.
Thank you. Is there anything further?
No.
I'm good. And before we move on, has Mr. Lucas joined us at all? Okay, I was just checking.
Mr. Chair, if you prefer to go forward on this to at least resolve that matter, because I believe going into the next items might take a time period, we can certainly do that.
Yeah, it's, what's the time?
10:23.
We've given him 23 minutes, so at this point in time, I'd like to move back to item C, hearing before the commission. And then once again, I will ask, are all the parties present? And please come forward and identify yourself.
Kelly Wagner for the state.
And there's Mr. Lucas. Please note that he is not here. All right, and also I do want to ask every commission member to indicate that they have received and reviewed the administrative record in the matter that we're about to hear. Madam Secretary, could you do a polling on all of us?
Okay. Commissioner Coolidge, have you reviewed the information?
Yes.
Commissioner Garay?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawless?
Yeah.
Commissioner McClintock?
Yes.
Thank you. And I have Dina Benjamin with the Appeals Division of the Attorney General's Office will be representing the commission on this matter.
All right.
So
I think now you get to move and you get to come over here.
musical chairs.
All right, the commission will now hear oral argument from the parties on the director's order. Please understand that this is not the time for you to re-argue your case. Please focus on the sanction and any errors you believe are contained in the findings of facts and order. Each party will have 7 minutes. Since the appellant has the burden of proof in this matter, he shall go first. Then the commission will hear from the state. The appellant will then be given time for a brief rebuttal, but I do not, since the appellant is not here, we will now hear from the state.
Thank you, members of the commission. Kelly Wagner for the Attorney General's Office, representing the Department of Gaming in this matter. As the commission is aware, this matter actually came before the director as an appeal concerning a claiming race that happened at Turf Paradise on April 24th, 2019, concerning Kevin Eichelberry. From that director's hearing, the director issued an order finding that the House rule that Turf Paradise had implemented concerning the claiming race was in direct violation of the Arizona Administrative Code claiming rule, and found that specifically Mr. Lucas, Robert Lucas, who is now the current appellant in this matter, had appropriately claimed the horse, and that the horse should be transferred to him upon the director's order. Mr. Lucas then sent an appeal to the Racing Commission, which is before you today. He is not here. He has the burden of proof to persuade the commission that there was some type of error that actually occurred in the director's proceedings. There was no error. There has been no error that's been presented in Mr. Lucas's appeal, written appeal. He's made a number of statements and references about the fact of what he was allowed or not allowed to do in the actual hearing at the director's hearing. He was under the misimpression that he was a party in the matter. He was not a party, he was a witness. The appeal was between Mr. Eichelberry and basically to the department concerning what happened at Turf Paradise. Mr. Lucas was provided an opportunity to testify as to what happened. There was actually, I believe, 7 witnesses that were presented as to what happened on that day. The director took all the information that was presented to him and presented an order, and I would submit to the commission that the order is appropriate. And when the commission is looking at what to do today, the commission should be either looking to affirm the director's order, reverse the director's order, or modify it or request a new hearing. I would submit that there was no information presented that requires a rehearing. There was no information presented that would require the commission to modify any order of the director, and I would ask the commission to affirm the director's order today. Thank you.
And of course, now we would have a chance for the appellant to do a rebuttal, but he is not here to do so. So having reviewed the director's order, the administrative record, and listened to arguments from the parties, the commission will now discuss its decision. No further comments will be heard from the parties. First, I just wanted to say I do applaud Turf and all those who tried to come up with this house rule. I understand why you were trying to do it. Do applaud that effort. I do think it's something down the road we do need to address to help with safety with regards to the horses. But unfortunately, we all have guiding principles that we have to live by, and for us it's state law, statutes, and my personal opinion is the director was correct in his ruling. I don't know if any of you have thoughts.
I agree with you.
I agree with you.
Is that from both of you on the phone or just one?
That was Mr. Lawless.
Do we still have Chuck?
I'm on the same page too, Lori.
Okay. With that said, again, when we conduct business honestly with the strong moral principles while upholding the guiding principles, in this case, the law and statutes of the great state of Arizona, that in my opinion is the highest standard of integrity for us here, I move to uphold the director's ruling.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Madam Secretary?
Thank you. Commissioner Coolidge?
Yes.
Commissioner Garay?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawless?
Yes.
Commissioner McClintock?
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries to affirm the director's ruling in the matter, and with that, this matter is...
It's over. All right.
May I address the issue? Or,
Well, the issue is over.
well, I know, but more information that I don't understand. Could I express my thoughts
For
well, first of all, I'm the owner.
right.
I'm sorry, you need to identify yourself on the record if you're speaking on the record.
he asked me about.
Thank you. I know.
Lloyd Yother, the owner of the horse in question, on the claim for this Robert Lucas. As I stated earlier, I'm the owner. This happened in April the 24th. Mr. Lucas returned the horse back to my trainer. I've had the expense of daycare and feeding him for the last, 7 months? I don't know what can be done, if anything can be done about
That would be a whole separate matter you would have to take up with, I don't know, file something, but that's not something we can.
No, I understand, but I just want to bring it to light. Maybe at some point in time down the road, we need to do something with the statute or the regulation or whatever it may be, that if, the horse has to be cared for during that time, and I don't mind caring for him, but I just think it's, you're talking about the care for the horse for the last 7 months is more than the claim price. But anyway.
I agree, but like I said earlier, that I applaud for the effort of trying to come up with this house rule. Unfortunately, the house rule does not trump state statutes, and I do think we need to look into working on how we can come up with something. Yes.
Mr. Yother, what would happen at this point is that you'd have to file a judgment in the justice court and get a judge to rule on the matter for reimbursement for the upkeep of that horse. If Mr. Lucas failed to abide by that judgment, then the department would have recourse to take an action against his license.
Very good. Thank you.
We all done here? We can switch seats again? Thank you. I'm sweating. It's cold. All right, the next item on the agenda is E, discussion item. We have Arizona Downs, November 8, 2019 letter, R.E. Bob Hutton, October 25th, 2019 letter.
Well, you can go ahead.
And I have both Dave and Robert signed up for this.
Dave Arthur for Arizona Downs. 3 weeks ago, Bob Hutton wrote a letter to the commission explaining the disagreements that the HBPA had with the decisions that the commission made with respect to approving those simulcasts for the Monarch product that was not offered to Arizona Downs. And to that extent, Bob's a brilliant writer, or he got some help from a lawyer. I'm not sure.
Oh, I need help.
In any event, I could yield the floor to Bob if he wants to explain it, because it really is his letter. But since I received it, and I wasn't sure whether or not you folks either got it or intended to put it on the agenda, I republished it and sent it off to you. So expecting that we might actually get on an action item, but in the past we've never been successful getting into an action item in this commission, so I'm not surprised that we're not. In fact, what do you have to do to become an action item?
Well, you can blame me on this one. I set it as a discussion item, mainly because the commission had in the previous meeting already decided that we were not going to, we looked at the law, we looked at what was before us and had determined that contracts signed before the law were not covered under the law. And so that's why I left it as a discussion item, because I believe that the commission has already taken action on this.
Okay.
So if you want,
I understand that. I just wondered if there was a time limit, or this is beside the point, but if there's a time limit, you have to have an item before the division in so many days before the commission hearing in order to get an action versus discussion, but having heard your explanation, that's fine. I did want to make sure, however, that the 4 commissioners in the division saw this letter and saw the legal basis for it. And in fact, what I had hoped is that you folks would take it to heart and reverse your decision with respect to the way you're handling those simulcasts from Monarch. And I don't think it's, I'm going to assume that all 4 of you folks have read it. And I'll assume that the division director has read it and council has read it. And so I don't need to repeat everything in there. But I do want to say that whatever decisions you made with respect to analyzing a contract between Turf Paradise and Monarch, for instance, or between Monarch and Arizona Downs back in 2018 did not trump the statute that was passed and became effective in August of 2019. The statute that was passed deals with simulcasts. It doesn't deal with these overarching contracts that are old and are apparently trying to be renewed every year. We're quite concerned that somebody will come up to us and say, we're concerned with what you've done already, but we're really concerned with somebody saying, here's a piece of paper that just renewed the 2018 contract. So the statute doesn't apply at all. That approach, that legal fiction that you're using, we think is wrong. We think what you've done is against the law, and it has very severe consequences for us. Our ability to get the Monarch signal, which is half of the races in Arizona, is curtailed again and continues to be curtailed because of the decisions that you made in relying upon a statute that relying upon a contract that was signed almost a year ago, rather than doing what's been done under the Interstate Horse Racing Act and under Arizona law for 30 years, and that is approving and analyzing each simulcast meet that comes in, reviewed by the division, and then approved. We think you need to go back to that approach, and what you've done so far in creating this fiction that nobody had ever heard of before is illegal and against the law of the particular statute that was passed. And I don't know, Mr. Hutton, on behalf of HBPA, has anything to add to that? How's it going?
Good morning. Buzz Alston, Mr. Paradise. The issue, I think, is pretty substantially misunderstood by I haven't seen Mr. Hutton's letter, but pretty well understood. This is not something that deals with 2547. This deals with the ability to enforce a new statute, which is not specifically described to be retroactive. As you're well aware, 2547 really gives you very limited opportunities to take action, but it's all prospective. It's all going forward. So any contract that was entered into prior to the effective date of 2547 by law is enforceable and will continue until the termination of that contract. Turf Paradise has many contracts, one that runs through 2023, and that will be enforceable under this statute until 2023. It's just as simple as that. That's nothing. There's case law that controls that. I've sent you a letter talking about that. And so anyway, and I understand the confusion perhaps, because if you don't understand or haven't studied statutory interpretation and how it works, you wouldn't understand that a statute that starts today doesn't apply to something that happened 2 years ago.
It only applies if you have two things. One, specific language making it retroactive, and specific language as to why it's being made retroactive. You can't just simply say this is retroactive, end of the story. It doesn't work. You got to have specific language saying it's retroactive and why it's retroactive. You don't have that in the statute. It's a statute strictly prospective. There's nothing you can do about it, we can do about it, anybody else can do that. That's just the case.
Bob Hutton, Arizona HPPA. I'm going to come from it in a, I know you got the letter and you guys read it, right? So I'm not going to read it. I'm going to bore you with it. I'm going to come from it a practical matter. Number one, I want to make a point that our position in this is not against Turf Paradise. We're getting along with Turf Paradise. We're doing everything we can to make racing better in the Valley. This is about the future of racing in Arizona. And by not enforcing this law, what we're doing is if Mr. Sims, he has got a large piece of property out there, if he ever chooses to sell that or do whatever he wants with that land, we're in the crosshairs so bad as far as the future of racing in Arizona is concerned. And we need year-round racing. It's important for the horsemen to stay here, and Arizona Downs cannot survive without this law being put in place. And I think, and I'm going to make a statement on behalf of the commissioners, I think your concern is that Monarch will go ahead and pull the signal, and then all of a sudden there won't be Santa Anita, Gulfstream, any of the OTVs. I think that's your concern. I would tell you that is not going to happen because Monarch does not own the signal, the horsemen own the signal. And the horsemen in those states will not stand for their signal or their product not being shown in Arizona. And that's what it's about. The horsemen have control of what's going to happen, not Monarch. Now, Monarch can choose not to do the contracts, but as far as the horsemen are concerned, the horsemen would throw a fit if their signal was not shown in this state. And you've got to enforce the law. I mean, the law is, it's signed, it's in place, and I understand I'm not an attorney, and I understand Buzz says, statute law and everything else, but practically, on a matter, the law's in place, enforce it. Everybody's going to be fine. If this law is enforced, everybody's going to be okay. I can guarantee that. So that's just my point. Do your job, except for it's not really a job, you're not getting paid. So
Don't get $30.
I want to be careful when I say that, but we want the law enforced. And so if you have any questions for me, fire away.
No, good. And please understand with me, I really don't care what Monarch does. Their threat of pulling or whatever doesn't bother me at all. I'm one you don't play chicken with, so that's not going to come into play how I decide on things.
Okay. That should be an easy decision.
But again, the reasoning for this just being a discussion item, that was my call, because I looked at it as the commission had already made its decision as how we would move forward based off of our discussion and advice we had been given, and that's why I made the call to leave this as a discussion item. Now, if it was to be an official hearing, I think we should give plenty of time for all sides to address the issue. And if the fellow commissioners were wanting to eventually put this on as a eventual item, I would entertain that. But I made the call to leave this as a discussion item for today only, as I felt we had already made our decision.
Okay. What do we have to do to change your mind?
Rory, it might be best to go into executive session and speak to our attorneys, provided the legal questions.
Can I take that as a motion? I'll second that.
Okay.
Well, we have a motion and a second to go into executive session.
Commissioner Coolidge?
Yes.
Commissioner Gray,
Yes.
Commissioner Lawless,
Yeah.
Commissioner McClintock.
Yes.
Okay, it's 10:45. This open session is recessed for the executive session.
Are we going upstairs?
Yes, sir. Following is the second open session of the 675th regular Arizona Racing Commission meeting held on November 14, 2019 at 1110 West Washington, Suite 250, Phoenix, Arizona 85007.
All right, I'd like to recall this meeting back to order. Madam Secretary, please call roll.
Okay, time is 11:07 a.m. We're back into the second open session of the Racing Commission meeting. I will do the roll call. Commissioner Coolidge,
Here.
Commissioner Garay,
Here.
Commissioner Lawless,
Here.
Commissioner McClintock. Thank you. We have a quorum. And again, audience, as a reminder, if you have a cell phone, please turn it off or put it on silent or vibrate. And if you must take the call, please take it out in the hallway. Thank you, sir. It's all yours.
Thank you. Again, is there any further discussion regarding this item from commissioners? Okay, hearing none. For the same item, yes. Okay.
Buzz Alston with Turf Paradise. And what I didn't mention earlier was that the authority provided to the commissioners in the statute is to really just do two things, and only two things. And one is to approve the simulcast contracts and determine whether the fees being charged are reasonable. That's it. And there's just no, got nothing. If you wanted to make to enter an order or something making this the statute retroactive, you have no authority to do that. All you can do is follow the statute and do what it allows you to do. And no matter how much you might like to change it or wish it could be done differently, that's a matter for the legislature, not for the commission.
Thank you. Any further? Hearing none, we will move on to the next item, information reports. Mr. Stiles?
All right, this is the November safety report. Every month, I give you guys a report on the backside issues that our staff notices back there. We're back there on a daily basis, and my staff will alert me to when they see issues that arise. Presumably, each committee has a maintenance crew that is back there in charge of backside issues, and certainly they have security that's back there on a daily basis. This month, I'm going to report several significant issues to bring to the attention of the Commission, and I've provided pictures for you as well. First issue is the potholes. They are significant back there, worst I've seen in the last couple of years. Nearly every barn row and road has significant pothole issues that need to be addressed. In your pictures, you will see the first one is what I would call a situation near the JRO at Turf Paradise on the backside, where water was accumulating over the roadway, making it inaccessible. The first picture you see I took on October 29th when it was first brought to my attention by my staff, who said, "Have you seen what's back there?" The water is muddy, and it was pooling at approximately 20 feet wide by roughly 6 inches deep. The second picture you see was one taken this week on November 20th, and it's facing south from there, in which you see that the pool has grown significantly. It is green with algae, and there's chemical residue over on the top of it. It is more than 20 feet wide. It covers the entire road, and I did not walk it, did not go in there. I don't know how deep it was. It's a health hazard to not only horses, but to humans. And I asked, how can this issue linger so long? This was first brought to my attention on October 29th by my staff. And again, presumably, there is Turf Paradise maintenance crews back there, and certainly Turf Paradise security crews back there. You'll see some other pictures that I have provided with you that have accumulated over time. Pay close attention that some of those potholes have scum, much like you find in a farm pond. What that is telling me is that water is not draining, it is accumulating. It also is telling me that there's very little street sweeping going on. I uncovered on Tuesday of this week potholes that had feces in it, that had pond scum and green water. It means that it's not draining. The second issue I want to bring to your attention, that there was a wall in a barn that collapsed in the L row. It was the middle dividing wall. I was told there was a horse in that barn, but I could not verify that. It brings to note that I asked, how does this happen? Walls falling in barns, and it brings to me a dire need to do a complete inspection of every barn to assess if there's additional dangers that are present to these horses. There needs to be a system in place where track personnel assess the condition of each barn and prevent things like this from happening in the future. We will hear about it and then we bring it to the attention, but the paradigm has to shift. It has to be the track personnel that goes back there and sees these things and prevents them from happening. The bridle path that was built over the summer is like a beach. It's sandy and it's separated by cones that separate on the roadway. When it was built, I do believe it was mentioned in a commission meeting that it would be attended to daily. I think it was heralded, that was the exact term that was used. There's no evidence that that's being done on a daily basis. I've uncovered trash on the bridle paths that could have been there on that day, but it certainly is not being attended to on a daily basis. There is growing concern on the turf track, and we'll cover this in our Equine Safety Review Committee. If you've seen the turf track currently, it's yellow. It's not green as it should be. And there's an issue there. We've had 2 fatalities on the turf track. There has also been an incident at the South Gate where a trainer was allowed to bring horses in without health certificates. When I was told, I went to the stewards and asked about this situation. I was told that he had the health certificates on his phone, but he was allowed to bring these horses in. That particular trainer was called in by the stewards and told not to do it again. But that is playing Russian roulette with the horse population back there. That cannot happen. I need some guidance from you. And I can come back here every month and tell you these things that are happening, and we can hear from not only Turf Paradise, but from Rito and Arizona Downs, is we're aware of them, we're fixing them, and it's a temporary fix or it's a permanent fix. But we're now aware of it and we'll take care of it. I need some guidance on what we should do going forward. Should we not have the permittees come to the table and say, here's what we've discovered, here's what we've fixed, and here's the investment we're putting into our facility to make racing better than the permit we had before. And I ask you for some guidance on that. Thank you.
And I would agree. I think we should be auditing them. They should be reporting these issues. And I've just got to ask, how the hell did this Lake Paradise get formed back there and no one know what was going on and get this taken care of? I'd like to hear about this.
For the record, Vincent Franchi, General Manager of Turf Paradise. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, and Director Casillas. I would like to go over Mr. Stiles' points one by one, but to your question directly, Commissioner, as to how it started, the problem with that particular area is a drain, which clogs up. Previous racing season, the tenants in the barns near there kept it a little bit more orderly and conscientiously of debris going into the drains. That's not so this year, and that's not to make an excuse for to cast blame on anybody else. It was brought to my attention by Mr. Stiles on Tuesday of this situation. I moved on it immediately. As I speak, the hydrojet is taking care of the water, and we will monitor that more closely. That's how it happened. It's not because of a water leak, but because of a drain that clogged up with the regular things that you find at a racetrack, from the horse hair to the sawdust to the debris. In regards to the barn wall, in the years that I've been here, that has happened twice before, where a barn wall gets weak for whatever the reason, and we take care of it. How things generally happen at the racetrack is, I try to get back there every day. I'm generally pretty good at that. I will either see something and bring it to the staff's attention, or a horseman will bring it to my attention, or the HBPA via Mr. Guessman will bring it to my attention. But the staff takes care of everything in a orderly fashion, day after day after day. Now, they may have 10 different things on their list in any given day, and if something comes up and they have to make a decision of what has priority, they have my authority to do that. Part of the problem recently with things that I wanted taken care of in the backstretch, and they had to wait a couple of days, was we had a water leak in the facility. That generally doesn't take precedent over the barn area, but in this case, the water was leaking into our telecom system, which governs the entire racetrack, and we had to address it immediately. I have absolutely no problem on a daily, weekly, or however the department would like it, to detail to them what exactly our staff is doing maintenance-wise, because I think that's the source of concern here. As to what the staff is accomplishing, what is on their agenda, what is done, what is not done. In regards to the turf course, yes, the grass has a brownish yellow tone to it. There's nothing unsafe about it. And I say that with confidence, because were it otherwise, the jockeys would be on the phone to me instantly. What is going on, which is different from this year to last year, is last year we had rain in October. It soaked the turf course and everything was green. The Bermuda is dying off, which it does during this time of year due to the temperatures, and the rye is starting to come up. If you were out on the turf course, if you walked the turf course, you would see that it is grass. The color of it isn't pleasing, but there's nothing unsafe about it. You would also see that the rye is coming up, and the most important thing is there's nothing unsafe about it. Yes, there's been 2 fatalities on the turf course, which is unusual to have breakdowns on the turf. And before one jumps to any conclusion about the safety of the turf course, you may want to review the necropsy reports and the past performances of the horses that broke down. That might lead you to a different conclusion as to why that happened. So I just feel where something should be done in the spirit of cooperation that is between the permittee and the department that affects all of us. It needs to go no further than to bring it to my attention, and I will have it taken care of with the staff. We all have the same concerns. We all want the same results. In addition to what you asked about, Mr. Chairman, the water overflow in the stable area, in addition to it being brought to my attention by Mr. Stiles, which I appreciate, Mr. Yother of the HBPA went to Mr. Sims, the owner of the racetrack, and also brought it to his attention. And the movement to take care of these matters was already in question. The reason why there's been a delay with the sweeping on the backstretch is we need a part for our sweeper. It's broken down, and we're just waiting to get it. In regards to the potholes, I think you've heard me previously state that prior to the meet, Turf Paradise has spent $70,000 on repairing the road. We also noticed more potholes are occurring now. Why is that? Well, the horses have been with us since mid-September. We're now in mid-November, and the pavers are coming in next week to take care of the potholes. So rather than raise some sort of alarm that we're being delinquent or I'm not tending to the responsibilities of the racetrack, I'm a phone call away. I have an excellent staff that takes care of this and many more problems that you don't even hear about that come up on a daily basis regarding a facility that's 64 years old. Does that help, Mr. Chairman?
I mean, it helps in a way, but I think we're getting to a point this is kind of like Groundhog. Every year, there's always, the potholes, the building issues, the falling apart. I want to know at some point in time, and I'm not just picking on turf. I'll go after Tucson Greyhound Park, Phoenix Greyhound Park, whatever track. Is ownership willing to put the money into this track to get it up to par so we're not constantly having these type of issues of walls falling down and maybe injuring a horse?
A wall, Commissioner. A wall fell down and is being tended to, not walls.
Well, but more could, we shouldn't have one. We're just at this point, we're every year at this point. I'm kind of getting to the point, it's like, what do we need to do to get this addressed back there? I'm ready to ask the department to look in, is there a way, fines we can start submitting on when issues aren't taken care of?
What I'm trying to say, and explain with as much clarity as I can gather today, is everything is being taken care of. There is a certain reality. The facility is 64 years old, which isn't an excuse. It's a recognition. It's a recognition of the age of the facility, and with that comes problems that are going to happen on a daily basis, which we take care of as fast as we can, whether it has to do with the backside, the front side, or whatever. What I'm saying, many things are going to crop up in any given week and any given day. And it's not to say that we're not taken care of, or that money is not being spent to make sure the facility is safe for the horsemen and for the horses. If there's one area that it can jump into, potholes are going to occur when you have nearly 1,600 horses on the ground that have 4 feet that daily go over an asphalt road. And we know this, and we know it, and we keep after it, and we'll do so under the rest of the meeting. If it would give the commission any comfort or the department, I can simply show you the amount of money I spend of Mr. Sims' money, not only before the meet, but during the meet, to keep everything safe and sound for both humans and equine. I just don't want
you
to
can understand where I'm coming from. That we're hearing these different things year after year. Then we always hear, I just heard you talk about the sweeper. We're waiting on a part. I think every year we hear about some equipment back there that's broken down. We're waiting on a part. Again, it's Groundhog Day, year after year, time after time. What are we going to do? I want to know, what are we going to do to ensure that these things aren't happening year after year? Mr. Sims.
I would let Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
I am here to assure you that whatever is going to come up on a daily or weekly or meet-wise basis, we are taking care of. The only thing I'm adding that to keep in mind is, due to the age of the facility, things are going to happen. I just spent $25,000 of Mr. Sims' money getting yet another water truck. We already have 2, but we want to make sure we have a 3rd just in case. We can't be in a situation where we don't have 2. So this is something that we do, but if you think that if this were a brand new facility just this year, we would not be having this discussion. You will have this discussion when you're dealing with a facility this old. Having said that, the real point that I'm trying to make is we take care of everything. We're very conscientious. The fact that it may not be taken care of immediately or according to someone else's timetable is not a reflection that we are not dedicated to making sure everything's safe. On the way down here today, driving down on the interstate, I got a call, and we had another fatality on the training track, a fluke. A horse got loose and ran into the rail for whatever the reason, whatever the cause. It's going to happen. And if I could stand here and tell you that from this day forward, there will be no fatalities of any sort at Penn National with BDC. That is not going to happen. What I am telling you is we take care of everything in regards to safety of that facility, and that is directed for the horsemen's welfare, certainly for the horses' welfare. We all know what microscope we are under. And I'm available, I'm like an emergency room doctor. I get calls at home at all hours of the night, and if something is up and needs to be tended to the next morning, then I am on the phone. When I was at 4 o'clock in the morning, get the electrical grid back up for the A through D roads with my track superintendent, we weren't doing this because we didn't care. We weren't doing it because that it did not need to be addressed immediately. We need to get the problem corrected as fast as possible for our horsemen and for our horses. And that's an attitude that's been present at that race course ever since I've been there. But I know in the hours that I've spent here today, and will spend more so at an equine wellness meeting, by the time I get back to the racetrack, there will be other problems that crossed up the staff will have on my iPhone and will have to be tended to. It does not stop. What I'm saying, they are tended to as fast as we can get to them. Additionally, if it helps in any way, shape, or form for the department and or the commission to send you an email on a weekly basis as to what projects maintenance was tending to, I'm more than happy to do that.
I mean, I've heard you bring up a couple of times, it's a 64-year-old facility. I understand that. My house is 100 years old. I had to dump a boatload of money into that house to get it up to the standard so I don't continually have problems year after year. So my thing, and I keep hearing from a lot of people, is like, when are we going to start investing on updating this facility, getting new barns put in? That's, you know, we can't, these barns that are back there, they're not going to last forever, and they're deteriorating as we speak. When is some investment going to be put into this facility?
That's a different subject, and a worthy one, but that's a different subject. As a matter of fact, those barns will outlive us all, the concrete barns. I'm just saying. But whether or not they outlive us all, the question is that they're safe. We've spent, this year, I just signed a check. We will have spent about $170,000 on roof repairs to the barns. The point I want you to hear me on, if I can be heard at all, is we are conscientious of this.
Yeah, and I hear you, but just please understand that from my point of view, I'm going to be lighting a fire under your ass to make sure these things are taken care of.
I'm a fire sign, so you come at me, Commissioner.
So, I mean, and again, again, some of these things are just happening. So, do you have a weekly or bi-weekly, every other day walkthrough with the HPPA?
No.
Why don't we start doing that and start addressing those things that come up with the walk between you and the HPPA?
Let me clarify a little bit. Mr. Gessman is very good at bringing things to my attention, either on a daily or weekly basis. And when he calls me, I generally go down to his office and he'll give me a list of things, and by end of day I'll have answers for him. It could be something minor, just something a little bit more major. Who I do keep in communication with is our plant superintendent and our stall superintendent, because they are the ones that are dealing with these problems. Okay, this is what we're doing now, this is what we're doing tomorrow. And also my security director, which is an extremely good source of intelligence about things he hears that are told to him, and they get to me, and then I relay them to staff. So it's a network of communication, and get them on the agenda and get them done.
I think I would just like to start seeing you guys, you know, doing walkthroughs, putting together a report and getting those to the state so that we can see that you guys are daily seeing things, and either it's being taken care of and or the plan how it's going to be taken care of.
There's a timeline. I have no problem with that.
Again, because, you know, I respect you. I've worked with you on things, and I appreciate everything you've done helping me out so far. But it's, you know, these are, our industry is under a spotlight. So this has got to be top priority. We cannot let our guard down.
I agree.
And I'll shut up in case there's any other commissioners who want to talk.
Are we good?
We're good. Mr. Sims?
Harry Sims, Earth Paradise. Mr. Mayor did a very good job of explaining. Commissioner Goulet, this is not Groundhog Day. This is always going to be Groundhog Day. You cannot take 15, 16, 1,700 animals on the backside. If it was a brand-new racetrack, you're going to have potholes continually because of the water to wash off the horses every day. They give it 1,700 horses, if there's 1,700 back there. They use a hose on the asphalt, and that's what happens. It doesn't matter if it's brand new. We did a few years back. I decided to do the whole thing over. We brought in and put an entire new backside on the roadways. All the roadways were brand new. We had guys come in and they lasered them so that if there was X amount of water, it would run in this direction, all to a system that's underground that takes it to the drainage. Guess what? Right after that, we had just as many potholes. It didn't make any difference because that horse that's getting washed off right there, that water is hitting that asphalt, it's going to make potholes. It didn't matter if it was brand new. I did it so everyone would say, gee, isn't that wonderful? I knew it wasn't going to make any difference. I've never stopped putting money into the facility. Yesterday afternoon, Lloyd and Mr. Gessman and Leroy came up to my office, said they wanted to see me, and they had those pictures and whatever. And I looked at it and I said, everything's got to get taken care of. This is no good. So Mr. Mayor was not at the track yesterday. We were a dark day. They left. I picked up the phone. I called our head of maintenance. He went over that item after item was either already finished or being done. And I immediately called Lloyd and I said, put your phone on a speakerphone so he could have Leroy here. And I said, all these items you come into, Mr. Mayor has already addressed them. And most of them are either fixed or today are being fixed. So there is not, we have one horse kicked down, not a wall, it's a dividing wall. It's tin, or whatever it's made out of. It looked like metal of some kind. It was not the outside concrete. They're all made out of block with metal roofs. So a horse weighing 1,100 pounds or 1,000 pounds kicked it down. Got fixed. But I mean, that's not it's going to happen. If you're around 15, 16, 1,700 animals on the property, with that kind of power to knock something over or go through it, it's going to happen. And it doesn't matter how old your facility is. I'm told, I've never been over to look at Santa Anita's backside, but I'm told ours is much nicer than their backside. I have no idea. We keep it up. It's not pretty. I don't invest money in pretty. I don't invest money in pretty. When the Horsemen had a problem a few years ago with water pressure, we spent about $1.5 million. It took a few years, and we put an entire new water system under the barn area. And you got to do it in the summer because you can't bring equipment in. And we did it ourselves. We rented the equipment and we put in underground because those old pipes were corroded. They were from 1956. And the Horsemen needed more water power to wash off a horse. I go back there and see it was awful. So I committed to fix that, which we did. And it's not pretty. No one even, you go back there, you wouldn't notice it. But if you turn a hose on, you're going to get a lot more water pressure. So I invest in things that safety is number one. Safety is number one. I've asked Mr. Mayor about the grass course. I'm a layman. I know we invested some money in it this year, extra, because we put in some things that are stabilizers, and the grass grows between. And Santa Anita has it, Del Mar has it, and we put them in the far turns because that's where there could be a safety issue. So, but I asked him about it, and he said the same thing. He said, we didn't get the rain and the soaking. We use a lot of water on it. And the water we get is all from the well. We're not taking city water. We have our well. And he explained to me about the ride coming up, and that it was very safe. So I saw the same track that one Greg's referring to. So we have a lot of eyes back there. You've got 200, in round numbers, 200 trainers, and you've got people that work under them. And if something's not right, they're going to tell us very quickly. If the track wasn't safe, the dirt or the grass track, we would hear from the jockeys in a heartbeat, and we're glad they do because they let us know they're out there on the track. So safety is number one, and we could have more eyes and ears out on the backside. frankly, where that pond is, I could go back there and I'd miss it. Because it's behind, it's not on one of the main roads, it's on the area back by Anderson Feed. In that far area, just before you see Anderson Feed in the picture. And that's where it is. It still shouldn't be that way, but it happens. And as soon as we find out about it, it gets finished. So I hope you understand safety is number one. If it was a brand new facility, you'd have the potholes. It wouldn't make any difference.
No, I appreciate it. And, just please understand too, where I'm kind of looking at it is, we saw what those who wanted to bring harm to Greyhound Racing, what they did. They started every month. They would be asking for all the information, all the documents that had been submitted regarding Greyhound Racing. They would take those reports and they would go run into the media and pretty much just slam Greyhound Racing. These are public record now. Those that wish to bring harm, and there's a lot now, and it's building momentum, that want to bring harm to the sport of horse racing. These things are now public record. They're going to start using it against us to, make us look bad. We need to have these things taken care of before the state is over there taking pictures and it's becoming public record. That's kind of what I'm also looking at.
That's a good point. That's a good point. But if we knew about these, if somebody lifts the phone and calls Mr. Mayor, a horseman, or anybody back there, like I say, that comes into contact with something, he gets calls at all hours. Happens, they came over and saw me yesterday, and I found that Mr. Mayor was already all over these issues. And
so how can we get something, and may work with the state on having something where everything that's reported is in a log somewhere with its status, so the state can look at it and say, okay, we already know.
You'll need two secretaries, and that won't be enough. You can't imagine how many things Mr. Mayor deals with in a given day, let alone 2 days or a week. They happen. When you have people in the buildings, things happen. We had somebody that claimed they slipped and fell, and it turned out that they made it up. We had cameras to show that it was made up. But
can we do something? Just try to start getting some process in place so we can.
Well, we can. We're going to be more focused on it, and so we've been focused. I don't know how to be more focused on it, frankly, but somehow we'll get ourselves more focused. I promise you, when I saw those pictures they brought me, I said to them, "Am I right?" I said, "Every one of these needs to get taken care of, right?" And before 10 minutes went by, I had already talked to Sal and called them and found Mr. Mayor was already on top of it. So, anyway.
But you get where I'm going, where
there's no.
The other side will use this against us.
No, that's a good point. But there's no expense spared. I don't make it necessarily critical. But safety is absolutely number one. And when the horsemen have a problem with water and hitting their horses, that isn't going to be beautiful. But the horsemen needed that water pressure. And we have other things like that. Like he says, we're fixing roofs. Because it happens. You get storms, and it happens. But if I was going to build brand new stalls today, I'd build them out of concrete block. And I'd put metal roofs on them. And after big storms, we'd still have leaks. But we don't have the fire issue because you got concrete and you got metal roofs. Thank you.
You already signed up.
Lloyd Yother, HPPA. I'd be a little remiss if I didn't make some comments. And like Mr. Hutton said earlier, we are for change, trying to work with and getting along with Turf Paradise, and this is not directed to Jerry or Vince or anybody, but some of the observations that I've had is the water issue with the standing water is not a once-in-a-lifetime event. It's happened years after year after year, several times during the year, and it's been, if I'm not correct, it's been handled. They have to dig out the drain a couple times a year to solve the issue. The barns are deteriorating, and they've been there forever. They're all metal barns. There's no concrete on the barns that we're talking about where the divider fell down, which is a wall. It's a divider wall. And those have rusted out. They're rusted out at the bottom. And I went over this with Jerry, and I'm not trying to pick a fight with Turf Paradise. I'm just reiterating some of the issues that need to be handled. I don't know how many people that Jerry has on the backside for maintenance. He says he has a general maintenance guy and a stall manager and whatever. But if they got 2 or 3 guys working on issues, I gave him enough issues yesterday that it'll take them a week to get them done. I mean, so maybe you need to invest. And we talk about the facility being 65 years old. As you brought up, Mr. Chairman, there's a lot of other things around the country that's historical buildings that are maintained, and they don't have these problems. There's so many problems that you can't address at Turf Paradise because it's been going downhill for 65 years, I guess. That's the way I can put it. But like I'm saying, we need some action. Maybe they need to hire some more people to get some of these issues taken care of instead of on a daily basis that everything comes up. This stuff's going to happen. If you had a brand new facility, you're going to have some issues that happen, but you can't have so many issues that you can't get them to the right people, to the safety steward or to the track, whatever. But there's a lot of things out there that need to be really taken a hard look at, and it's going to take money, and we all know where we're at, so where the horsemen stand with money. So, but anyway, I just felt that needed to be aired because the track's right, the horsemen are right, the commission's right. There's a lot of things that need to change at Turf Paradise. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I just got to readdress, I'm sorry, Jerry Simpson. The barns he's talking about, and I agree, those are the L barns. And the L barns are the only barns I can think of. Are there any other metal barns except the L barns?
Just the L.
Just the L. Only the L barns, and that's where that got kicked in. That's the only, and there's only a few L barns. How many barns of Mr. Mayor do you think there are in L barns?
6, L6. Yeah, and there's 4.
4?
Sorry, 4.
4 barns. That's what we're talking about in the L row. That are the middle. That is the middle.
But there's about 30 barns in each row. 30 stalls, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
30 stalls in each barn.
Okay, that's right. And they're not all full. And some of those are, I think, doesn't the state still use some of those for when they're chickens and so on?
Yeah, we get the point.
Yeah, it's a small fraction. The rest of them are all concrete. Just wanted to make sure you understood. Those are 4 barns in the L row.
Is there any, I can shut up now. Is there any other comments from fellow commissioners? Greg, do you need some further guidance for you? I think the guidance I would give you is to see about how we can come up with some program where they're documenting what they find and it's if it's not taken care of, some end date so that you guys can have something to go to before when you go out to do some of your inspections.
May I make one more recommendation? Maybe the issues that are so Lloyd Yoder, HPPA, that are severe enough that they get to the commission, they should be handled at the facility.
Yeah.
But the ones that are like the ones that you have pictures of there, maybe we need to get a picture of those, the date they're completed and made right, and get it to the commission, show that they're done, and that gives you some follow-up on that they are being handled on a timely basis. I mean.
Well, and that also helps out for public relations, that they may see there was an issue, but they see the industry took care of it as well.
Right. So that would be my recommendation. Take a picture of the finished product. I got one. You got one here.
So, need anything further from us, Greg? Or
No, I think I've got it.
All right, we can move on to
Budget report.
budget report. Is Jason here?
Mr. LaForest is unavailable today. He did assure me that the racing budget is sound and no areas of concern at this time.
Okay. Now, committee reports not to exceed 3 minutes. Arizona American Greyhound Racing. Nothing to report. Okay. Arizona Downs.
Tom Author, Arizona Downs. I'll be brief here. First, I'm getting over my shock that Lloyd isn't wearing his normal manly footwear. He's wearing some...
He's traveling today on a
left-wing
plane.
hippie global warming shoe store. It's really interesting to see how his wardrobe evolves in the coming months. Anyway,
Downtown world.
The first thing I would encourage you to look at the interpretation on this proactive versus retroactive that many other attorneys have decided means you can't retroactively go back after somebody who did something legal that is no longer illegal. That's a retro, and so certainly we could not go back after anybody who, because Monarch did not send us a signal, but moving forward, it's illegal that they're not sending us a signal. That's an aside. The other thing is specific to the track, everybody knows we've got some financial challenges. Those are not helped by not enforcing the law, and they certainly aren't helped. We're out trying to open OTBs, and they're not helped by Turf Paradise, specifically Mr. Sims, contacting city council members, telling them that we're out of money, and we have a problem with the commission. And I know at least two that you contact. I don't know if you contacted all of them or not, but you can address that. So we've had, for the third consecutive time, we've had OTB on the agenda that's been delayed, continued, because of contact from Turf Paradise to the city council questioning whether or not they should, which is a legitimate question for this commission to address. It's not for the city to address. And we're aware of concerns about that. We are making headway on fundraising. We've got some nothing definitive yet, but we're working on that and we're aware of it, but it doesn't help us. Obviously, you make your money off the OTB system, and when the law isn't being enforced and when somebody's at our heels fighting us with, frankly, things that aren't true. We've never used the word bankrupt. We're not planning to bankrupt, and I don't think it's fair for that term to be used by somebody who is absolutely determined to shut us down, contrary to whatever their statements may be. I just hope we can get your support as we move forward with these OTBs and don't have to continue fighting all of this ridiculous stuff that we continue to fight. So any questions, I'd be happy to take them otherwise. Okay, thank you.
County Affairs?
Oh, excuse me one minute. I was addressed. You mentioned I'd like to respond.
Can you do it in
No,
this floor?
you can do it. Turf Paradise is coming up in a little while. County Affairs? All right. Is Jay still here? No, he left. Okay. Tucson Greyhound Park, she said she wasn't coming. I don't see her. Now Turf Paradise.
Very sinister in Paradise. I just want to address what you said. That's absolutely false. What is true is I did speak up for Turf Paradise, and I did tell them, Deborah Stark, I didn't speak to her, but I spoke to her assistant, and Felda Williams, the comments, and I actually played the comments that Tom Arthur and his brother said a couple meetings ago. And I'll tell you my interest in it. And the comments were, one said we've closed all our OTBs except one, and the other comment was we're out of money. What scares the heck out of me about that is if somebody wins an OTB or the track and they can't pay him, that person calls the newspaper, I'm gonna read an article, and we'll all see it, track can't pay customer. Because they don't get paid back. Let's say the customer bet on, up at their track where they have the Monarch, and they bet on Santa Anita, and they win a good-sized ticket, they've got to wait 30 days to get paid by Santa Anita. It's a 30-day period that so they might be 10 days in, they got to wait 20 days. So that's my concern. The other thing is opening them up so close to ours, something they said they would not do. And this one's on 7th Street, and close to the track. So anyway, those were their words they used. I never, ever mentioned the word bankruptcy. Didn't mention that word. I mentioned what they said.
Thank you. So would it be okay for me to put in my... You've already...
30 seconds. Tom Author, Arizona Downs. I'd like to hear what I said that was not accurate. My point is, Jerry Sims is calling council people, calling into question whether we should be allowed OTBs. If he didn't use the word bankruptcy, he needs to talk to Felda Williams and Deborah Stark and say, why did they use it, saying that he used it. The bottom line is they're doing what they can. Let us worry about paying our bets. We haven't missed anything yet. We don't need him running around making sure. I think if he really cared, if he really cared about the reputation of horse racing, I think a lot of things he could. Thanks.
So it'd be okay for me to do mine?
You put it in wherever you want, sir.
Okay. Well, we've had some heated discussion a little bit here today, but I want to change it up a little bit. I'm going to be adding something that we're going to have every month, as long as I'm still the chairman on the commission. We'll do going forward. How many of you are familiar with the military challenge coin?
What?
Military challenge coins. The little challenge coins that look like this. Military units, they'll have these coins that they give out to show unity or to kind of show support, build up morale and all that. And having spent 10.5 years in the Navy, I kind of got to thinking the other day, it was like, maybe we should do something to recognize people within our department. And it's like, what could we recognize them on? And I think something that we all need to strive for is integrity. Integrity needs to be top priority for us. And so I did talk to the director and told him he's going to be in charge of coming up with a few names at each meeting that we're going to issue the challenge coin, the integrity challenge coin. On one side, it has a horseshoe with a dog print in the middle, and says, I gotta put my glasses on. It says Arizona, and then Division of Racing and Racing Commission, integrity, and then on the back side is the seal of the great state of Arizona. So with that, I'm going to first issue the first one to the man I've been working now with for a few years here, and I feel like he's been doing a great job of keeping integrity in our department. I'd like to offer the first one to Rudy for doing a great job and ensuring we have a great. So now, Rudy, it's your turn to.
You want me to make a recommendation? Well, you said within the division, so with that, I'm going to make a recommendation for Christian Fashing. He is very meticulous with overseeing a lot of what's been going on, especially with the new law and guiding the division. I think it's very worthwhile that Mr. Fashing received.
All right, we'll be doing this at every meeting, and also for those of you in the industry, if you have people you think should be recognized, please do let me know, and we'll make sure we get them recognized. Now we'll move forward. Optional Industry Stakeholder Association updates. Arizona County Racing Association. No. Arizona Greyhound? No, he's not. Arizona Quarter Horse Racing Association.
Nothing to report, right?
Arizona Thoroughbred Breeders Association.
Got a sale going on.
And that's why we're going to drag this out. HVPA?
Nothing further.
Okay. Jockeys Guild? That was a couple of weeks ago. All right. Item G, Commission reports, summary of current events affecting the Arizona Racing Commission, and identification of matters for future agendas. Does anyone have anything on the phone?
Yeah, I do. I'd like to see this retroactive issue be an action item next month as to whether an amendment is a new contract or whether they can piggyback on old contracts.
Okay. Did you get that?
Yes.
I think what he might be saying is anything newer than, what was it, August 27th, I think was the date?
Yes, sir.
I think 26, yeah. Any
August, whatever the date is, amendment to prior contracts, whether that can be considered as a whole or as a new contract or not. Because I kind of agree with Buzz that the law is kind of clear on retroactivity, whether it's got to be in the law or it's got to be a reason for it. One excerpt I read in prior materials. But there's an amendment to a prior August contract constitute a new contract. I'd like to do that as an action item.
All right.
Got it. Yes,
You got that? Okay. Anything else? No. All right. Call to the public. Mr. Nolan, did you want to sign up for the call to the public? What did I do with it? Oh, you got.
I've got it,
Oh,
but you can sign up right there.
Stephen Nolan, a licensee with the department. I just wanted to make a reminder that at the last meeting you had tabled something till the December meeting concerning Rule R19-2-104 licensing and the status of these simulcast, the Monarchs, the Twin Spires, to be licensed according to Rule R19-104, if that's still on the agenda. And if you're going to have a special commission meeting agenda for these Aqueduct, and Fairgrounds prior to the end of the month, if they could be put on that special agenda. I think it relates, because Monarch has talked about so much, that if in fact they are due to be licensed, maybe the licensing could be ordered prior to any further. So it was tabled from last month to December, but if it could be moved up if there is a special commission meeting.
Yeah, I don't think it was tabled. We had just asked the department to look into that and get back to us at the December meeting.
Okay, so will it be on the agenda of the December meeting?
We'll let you know.
We'll let you know.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I've got to wait for my attorney to let me know what her research is.
It's always them lawyers getting in the way. All right, announcements. The next regular Arizona Racing Commission meeting tentatively is scheduled for 10 a.m. on Thursday, December 12th, 2019, right here in the same building. And with that, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. Commissioner Coolidge?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawless?
Yes.
Commissioner Gray?
Yes.
Commissioner McClintock?
Yes.
Thank you. This meeting's adjourned at 11:59 a.m.